Okay, it's a 7:01. Career smart women don't go late for meetings. And so we're just going to start. All right. So, welcome to today's session, today's informational session on um, weekend. And then we all know what weekend is. Weekend is the Women in Career Advancement Network, and its effect on career growth, personal branding and its effect on career growth. Now, what does personal branding mean? And how does personal branding affect us? Now let's first talk about branding. When we hear branding, the first thing that comes to our mind literally is big organizations. We think of like Pfizer, Peak Milk, and all that. Like, oh, they branded themselves. So when you see blue, you see Peak Milk. When you see green, you see Diamond Bank. When you see this, you see that. That is what branding simply means. And it started back in the days, but it started with organizations, and then gradually it's moved to individuals, and then we started getting bothered with things like, oh, I am green, like my personal brand stands for non this and all that, and it became a thing, which is what we are talking about today. Now, how does it affect career growth? Someone might have asked, because I can decide to have my own brand, but it doesn't have to be aligned with what I do. Do you understand? And I made a post today. I said, a lot of times you say this is who I am, but you act the other way. And it doesn't make any sense. You can't say my brand. Okay, so for instance, I'll use big brands like Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Once you associate with Coca-Cola and they give you their brand ambassadorship, you cannot drink Pepsi. You cannot be seen drinking Pepsi. It is a sin, it is a law. So why would you as an individual say I am this? Let me say I'm a Christian, and then you're seen in a club, or I'm a Christian and then you're seen smoking or doing what non-Christians should do. Or let me put this way. I say I am Meg Consult, like Eniola Peters is Meg Consult. Like when you see me, you see Meg Consult, literally, because I am my brand and my brand is me. So you wouldn't expect that what Med Consult do is not who I am. The core of Med Consult is my core. That is basically what personal branding is. And I decided to brand myself today so that we're talking about it. What do they call it? Catch the sub or whatever whatever it is called. And that is basically what personal branding is. You call yourself something, and you have to show that you are that thing, right? Okay, so I know Suzan is coming, she's ready for us and all that. But I just want to touch a little bit on what personal branding is. At least I checked on Google, and Google told me that personal branding is the conscious and intentional effort to create and influence public perception of an individual by positioning them as an authority in their industry, elevating their credibility, and differentiating themselves from the competition to ultimately advance their career, widen their circle of influence, and have a larger impact. It also said that the process of personal branding involves finding your uniqueness, building a reputation on the things you want to be known for, and then allowing yourself to be known for them. Ultimately, the goal is to create something that conveys a message that can be monetized. And that is just simply personal branding. Do you understand? it's at the end of the day, the goal is for it to be monetized. You have to be known for something. What are you known for? Who are you? Are you hiding from your organization? When we go for interviews and they ask you, tell us who you are, they're asking you, what is your unique selling point? What makes you you? Who are you? You shouldn't have to answer the usual way, like, oh, my name is, I grew up in. Those are not the things that makes you you. What is unique about you? Oh, I'm passionate about things. And I know last month we talked about communication. And I know Bologi gave all of us an assignment to write our bio. The point of writing our bio was so that we could identify who we really are, and create that niche for ourselves and brand ourselves, and then go for it. And today we have the pleasure of having Madam Suzan Adesina. Sorry, why do I keep calling you Adesina? Stop, remove it. Okay, so we have the pleasure of having Madam Suzan Opeyemi here, and she's the guru when it comes to branding. She helps people brand themselves, both personal, both organization, and all that. So I remember quick story, when I wanted to design this logo for Make Consult, and the designer was asking me, oh, what are your colors? What are these? What does your organization stand for? And all, the color means this, blue means this, green means this, and everything just fits, because every the little nitty gritty matters. And that was what happened, and that was how I was able to come up with this. And this brand, as this design, has taken me places that I can explain what we stand for. I can explain what I stand for, which is not even far from each other. It is the same thing. And it is so important that you carry that person everywhere you go. You can't be working in an organization and then hiding who you really are, or who you want to be, or who you have decided to be. You have to allow yourself to be, just like I defined it then. And I know, okay, Susan is still coming to define it more and all that. And then background story to why I thought about this topic. I had a conversation with a few ladies, and then we're talking about, oh, they're hiding their YouTube, Instagram, WhatsApp status from their boss or their colleagues. And I'm like, Susan, please, I think you even need to touch on that. And I'm like, why are you hiding? Like, how would you feel if you were the CEO and your staff is hiding these things from you? I said it goes both ways, because you are worried that your boss will see you and say, you are doing all that, all that, all that. Like Veronica, if you're on the weekend group, you remember Veronica when they talked about having two jobs, right? And I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. I think you are worried that your boss will say you have two jobs or you have other things. The boss is worried that you are doing stuff that doesn't align with the organization's policies and procedures. Do you understand? So transparency is important. And I said, you don't know that the boss knowing who you really are could actually help the organization, could actually help the boss become a better person. Do you understand? So it's like saying you're born again, but because you live in Dubai, you don't want to talk about God, or you don't want to share the word of God, or you don't want to acknowledge that your growth in life is attached to God. Because I run weekend does not mean I will pray. Every of our meeting we pray. If you attended the last roundtable conversation, we prayed, right? So you will see my value in every tiny little thing that I do. And if you are asked who is Eniola, you'll be able to say, no, Eniola is a strong this, strong that. This is who she is. That is what she is, and all that. So can I say that about you? That's why we are here. Anyway, to cut the long story short, you people know I like talking, right? But welcome with me. The person that I'm about to introduce needs no introduction, because we know who we call the fly with Suzan. It's no longer run with Suzan. Oh. Hey, God. It is now fly with Suzan, and she's here to talk about personal branding and how it affects our career growth. So, welcome, Mrs. Suzan Opeyemi. The floor is yours.
Am I okay? Okay, okay. I hope we can hear me.
Yes, we can. I
Yes,
can
thank
see
you.
clearly.
Thank you so much, Ma. I'm really, really, really grateful. Please. Okay, so my name, you can call me Suzan Adesina or Suzan Okoye, whichever. Adesina is my maiden name. I have not changed it in a lot of places, but Suzan Adesina is fine too. Welcome everyone. Thank you, Miss Eniola, again. I'm so, so grateful. Thank you. Thank you, Ukemel Bong. I think I got that correctly. Thank you so much, everyone. Okay, I will just give us a little bit of apology because I have really been stressed. I have gone back to back with events. I have lost a ton of weight. I have lost appetite, and I'm also currently moving houses. So my life is just all over the place, but in a very positive way. I am not complaining. I am grateful to God. So apologies if you expected, somebody looking so fly, please. Thank you so much. Okay, yes. My name is Suzan, like Mrs. Eniola mentioned, and I like to call myself a personal brand coach, a ghostwriter, and I would start by saying that personal branding has changed my life, literally. If you are looking for a perfect example of the effect of personal branding, I mean, you're looking at me. I would be as vulnerable as possible on this call. I'm going to tell you how it is. I'm also going to tell you my story. Um, I would just go on to share my slide right away. So on today's call, we'll be talking about personal branding and a minute, please. I'm trying to share my slide. Oh, I'm unable to share my slide.
I
I
can
think
make
I,
you co-host.
okay,
Let me make you a co-host so that
okay, ma'am.
you can share your slides. How did you do this thing? Make co-host. All right.
Okay.
Yes. Good. So you can share your slides.
Okay, yes. So on today's call, we're talking about personal branding and its effects on career growth. Okay, yes, perfect. Yeah. Can we see my slide? Please let me know if you can see my slide.
Yes, I can. I can see
Okay.
a fine girl.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Okay, so on today's call, we're talking about personal branding and its effects on career growth. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be as vulnerable as possible. I believe no gatekeeping. In fact, I'm not going to be gatekeeping anything. I'm going to tell you how it is, and you're going to leave this call with actionable steps, practical things that you can do to elevate your personal brand. Like I mentioned earlier, personal brand changed my life. And please, I'm not saying this because I just want to psych you up. No, please, I'm telling you this because this is my reality. Personal branding changed my life. So prepare your writing pads, be as attentive as possible, pick out a few things, and then I want you after this call to go out and implement because I mean, there are a ton of information out there. Some of the things that I'll be sharing here are things that even if you Google them, you'll probably find them online. But the thing that differentiates a lot of people from others is the ability to practice, to keep going back to whatsoever it is that they have learned and keep practicing define or odd. So please don't come on this call don't see this call like any other call. I mean, there are a lot of conversations going on about different things. See it as divinely orchestrated. That's how I like to live my life, that everything is divinely orchestrated. I'm working according to the spirit's direction. So I don't take anything in my life for granted. So see this as divinely orchestrated. It is going to change your life. It is going to shift your mindset. It is going to transform your life. Okay, so on this call, we'll discuss personal branding. I mean, the definition, Mrs. Eniola has given us a robust definition of personal branding. I mean, if you take that definition and just begin to break them down into steps, you would have had a complete session already. I would also share my story with you. Hopefully there's enough time, but I'll share my story with you. And then I'll tell you the effects of personal branding on career growth, on you as a person, and where you need to go from here. Like I mentioned, actionable steps. We are not just going to come and say everything, but you will know exactly what to do. So first off, what is personal branding? Now, I have two definitions I love about personal branding, and these are the two definitions. The first is personal branding is the practice of marketing oneself and one's career as a brand. The second definition is the practice of marketing yourself as a business. Now, my most favorite definition of personal branding is the second definition, the practice of marketing yourself as a business, the practice of marketing yourself as a brand. So just like the definition that Mrs. Eniola gave earlier, one thing about personal branding is that you have to do it intentionally. Now, for a lot of us, whether you are branding yourself intentionally or not, people already perceive you in a certain light. People already perceive you in a type of way. And the way that people perceive you is your brand. The way that people see you is your brand. I want to challenge us to do something. After this call, reach out to 5 of your friends, just 5 people within your circle, and ask them this simple question. When you hear Suzan, when you hear mention your name, what comes to mind? Just allow them, tell them, think about it. When you hear my name, what comes to mind? And you'll be amazed at what people think about you, especially if you have not been crafting your personal brand intentionally. I did this exercise some years back. I reached out to a few of my friends and I asked them, when you hear Suzan, what comes to mind? Amazingly, some people said poetry, and I'm like, wait, poetry, okay, how? Where? From where to where? But that was the perception that they had about me, especially because I love to write. So they assumed that everyone who loved to write was a poet or is a poet. I'm not necessarily a poet, even though I love to write, right? I wanted them to have a different perception of me. And that thing, made me go back to my drawing board to re-strategize. And then I started to ask myself, when people hear Suzan, what do I want people to think about me? And I carried out that exercise every single year. And for every time I have carried out that exercise, I have aligned with how I want people to perceive me. Just this year, I carried out that same exercise, and the people were saying the same thing. They were saying personal branding. When you want to talk about personal branding, reach out to Suzan. When you want to talk about writing, when you want to talk about personal development, reach out to Suzan. And specifically, these 3 things are some of the things that I want people to think of when they hear my name. When somebody sees my WhatsApp status, when somebody sees just something crosses their mind about me, I want them to have this particular perception about me. Now, if you don't leave this call with anything, I want you to leave this call with the knowledge of the fact that you have a brand the way you are. Whether you are intentionally crafting it or not, you already have a brand. Now, what you now need to do is to intentionally craft that brand. Right? And then, just like Mrs. Eniola mentioned, when people think about personal brand, a lot of people think about, okay, my colors, my social media page, but personal branding goes way, way beyond colors. In fact, what I like to tell people is, after you have done these other things that I will mention, then think about colors. That way, it will align. Now, what are some of the things? Your personal brand boils down to the way you speak. It boils down to your choice, the choice of words that you use. For example, you will never, ever, ever catch me using vulgar words. It is not a part of my brand. It is not who I am. Right? Your personal brand boils down to who you are. Mrs. Eniola mentioned it earlier. It boils down to who you are as an individual. I mean, people shouldn't be able to separate you from your personal brand. That's pretense already. That's living a double life already, right? When people see you, they should be able to tell, this is you, this is your personal brand. For example, I am a Christian everywhere. If you're not going to give me the job because I'm a Christian, go to hell with your job, right? For example, I would always do things the legal way, right? If you want me to cut corners, give bribe, take bribe, no, I will never do those kind of things. So you need to be able to merge your personal brand with who you are. And one other thing that I'm going to mention as we move on in the call is to go and carry out an audit. Remember the first thing I told us to do? The first thing I mentioned was to reach out to a few of our friends, 5 people specifically. Please carry out that exercise. Don't take it for granted. Reach out to 5 of your friends, people within your purview, and ask them, when you think about so and so person, that's your name, what comes to your mind? And tell them to give you a response the next day. Remind them. Tell them not to take it for granted, and see what people put together. Tell them you want something really critical and something really constructive, and you'll be amazed at what people think about you, right? So like I mentioned, your personal brand boils down to the way you speak. Some people are just generally permit me to use this, ras everywhere, right? That is how people perceive them to be. Is that how you want people to perceive you to be? Some people are obnoxious, loud, right? Is that how you want people to perceive you? Some people are really put together, right? Some people are calm. And everybody can learn, or how do I put this? Let me put this like this. The way you speak or the way you want to speak can be learned, right? You can learn to speak calmly if you are a loud person. You can learn to speak loudly if you are a calm person. So your personal brand can be tweaked. So now I have mentioned that your personal brand boils down to the way you speak. It boils down to the choice of words that you use. Your personal brand boils down to your demeanor, both online and offline, right? It boils down to the way you walk, your courage, the way you carry yourself. Are you a shy person? When people see you, do they assume that you are a shy person? If you are a shy person offline, it will reflect online. If you are a shy person when you are alone, it will reflect when you are with people, right? Your personal branding, your personal brand boils down to your outfits, the kind of clothes you wear. I remember when I was still, some years back anyway, still growing and all of that. And my dad, I wore some outfit and then my dad was insisting. For context, my dad attends Mountain of Fire, so he's really skeptical about outfits. And I grew up in the north, so I grew up very covered. So when I moved to Abuja, I started to open up a little bit and things like that. And then he was getting concerned and he was talking to me about my outfit. So after he had spoken to me, a couple of times and I was getting tired of the conversation, I now sat him down and I told him something. I said, Daddy, there are clothes I will never wear, whether you are alive or you are not. That thing gave him rest. That's you knowing who you are as an individual. There are clothes you will never catch me wearing, right? And there are clothes that I will never stop wearing because there are sometimes I want to go out. For example, my husband will be like, isn't this too serious? I'll tell him, man, it's a serious business I'm going for. I'm going for a serious business. I need people to perceive me as a serious person, somebody who is really serious. I don't mean don't dress for the occasion, but what I'm trying to say is you need to also be intentional with the kind of outfits that you put on, right? Your personal brand also boils down to the kind of outfits that you put on. Now, another thing is your personal brand boils down to the type of content that you put out on social media. Your personal brand boils down to the type of content that you put out on social media. And for a lot of people, when they hear social media, they exempt WhatsApp. I've noticed that thing a whole lot. When you tell people, oh, your content on social media, they don't consider WhatsApp as a social media platform. Forgetting that WhatsApp is the one that is more invasive. I mean, I feel like it's closer than other social media platforms. I mean, you just post something on your WhatsApp status now, and before you know it, you'll be amazed at how many people have already seen it, right? So your personal brand boils down to the type of content you put out on social media. I mean, you just pick up a camera and then begin to record yourself saying some things that should never be online. I remember it was, I don't know how many of us here know Tools. She's an on-air personality. She's married to that Captain Demurian. She posted a tweet some years back about how she went for an interview and during the interview, they played a video of her cussing out online. She said it wasn't like she was naked or anything, but she was cussing out using a lot of vulgar words and she was so embarrassed. One thing I like to tell people about social media is, especially because God has used social media to change my life, I always tell people that you'll be amazed at how far your content goes on social media. The little thing you post, that picture, you don't know who has seen it. There are billions, there are tons of people on social media. I have had to attend some events and then random people will just walk up to me and be like, we know you from Instagram. And I'll be like, wait, me? And it really amazes me because I see myself as not having a lot of followers. It was just recently one of my content went so viral that, it was just skyrocketing and I got to like 5K or 4K followers. Before I didn't have a lot of followers. I just had about 1,000, even though, quote and unquote, not a lot. I mean, when we compare it to some people who have been doing so much on social media, right? But even at the time I had those 1,000 plus followers, I would attend events and then people would tell me, we know you from Instagram. We know you from LinkedIn. And I'm like, wait, small me like this in my corner, right? So even if you have 500 followers, you have 200 followers. Don't underestimate how far your content can travel. And this should remind you that you should be intentional. I mean, all these things I'm saying is just to help you understand how intentional you should be about your personal brand. Now, your personal brand also boils down to the topics that you contribute to online. In fact, I feel like we need to sit down here a whole lot, right? You know, Instablog Ninja posts something, and before we know it, we've joined Keypad Warriors. We've gone online. We are typing aggressively. Oh my God, you'll be amazed. And as forward-thinking people, as people who are forward-thinking Christians, I want you to understand that your life is always going to progress. So what that means is that you will always find yourself in positions that are higher than where you've been in the past. So you find yourself higher in positions that are higher than where you've been in the past. When you look back at your past life, are you going to feel excited? There's hardly anything I've posted on social media that I am not proud of. Looking back now, I don't go back to delete my content. So you need to ensure that the things that you contribute to, they are intentional. For example, contributing to celebrity gossip, and then we're just talking without restriction. No. Someone who is intentional about their personal brand will never do that. So beyond your colors, beyond your logo, beyond the aesthetics, these are the core of your personal brand. Your personal brand is who you are. It stems from within, right? Your personal brand stems from within because it is from within that you produce whatsoever is outside. I mean, even the Bible tells us that from, the heart, the mouth speaketh, right? Now we have defined what a personal brand is, so we'll just move on. Now, you may be thinking, oh, my personal brand. Okay, so what do I contribute to? How do I put my personal brand out there? Now, I want you to, before we get to your brand or where my slide is currently focused on, I want you to remember that it is so difficult right now to separate your personal brand from your online presence. Why? Because we are in a digital age. Whenever people say, oh, I am not a social media person, I ask them, are you a billionaire? That's the question I always ask them. If you say I'm not a social media person. And why do I do that? I feel like it is billionaires for now that have the luxury. Correct me if I'm wrong. I may be wrong, but I just feel like it is billionaires for now that have the luxury of saying, oh, I'm not a social media person. You know why? Because when you say I am not a social media person, you are underestimating how much visibility, how much publicity you can get for yourself. I like to make this quick example whenever I talk to my mentees or friends around me seeking advice. I say, look at it this way. When you put yourself out on social media, just assume that the president of a country was just randomly scrolling on social media. And remembering that this president of a country has concerns, or somebody in a very influential position, they have concerns. They have, before they began scrolling, they had things that were bothering them. Maybe there was a particular staff that was disturbing them in the office, and they were thinking of sacking the person, but they've been thinking, who is going to fill in that role? They were thinking, oh, I have this graphic designer. The guy is not doing so well. I need to hire another person. And they had thought about that, and then randomly they were just scrolling, and then they stumbled on you, who is a graphic designer. They stumbled on you, who is a writer. Let me bust your bubble, or let me bust your brain. Let me put it that way. I remember a lot of us would have heard people share testimonies like this, where they were given job roles, and these people who were given job roles were asked to write their job description. Or a testimony like this, there was no vacancy in the company, but they had to craft a position because of how valuable the person is, right? People have had testimonies like that. So imagine the president of a country or somebody who is highly influential, and then they stumble on you on social media. I mean, that is a possibility. So I tell people, if that is a possibility, it means that putting yourself out on social media, as far as this our digital age is concerned, is really important. I hope you can hear me. I want to know if you can hear me. If you can hear me, Just drop a chat in the comments. Let me know
Yes,
that you.
yes, we can.
Okay, thank you so much. So now, in putting yourself out online or in crafting your personal brand, you need to bear in mind your skills, your expertise, your talent, your interests, your experiences. Those are the things that also culminate your personal brand. So for example, you go on social media, what do you talk about? Where do I start from? How do I begin to craft my personal brand online? You talk about your skills. You talk about your expertise. I intentionally used the picture of a person who is quote and unquote an expert in a particular field so that you get a picture of what I'm talking about, right? So your skills, what skill set do you have? When people get to know about your skill set, it forms a perception in their mind, right? Mrs. Eniola talked about it earlier. Being vocal, after crafting your personal brand, then you become vocal about it. One mistake that we make a lot of times is that we assume that people already know who we are. No, they don't. They are minding their business. There are a lot of things that are happening in their lives that they don't even think about you. So you need to be vocal about who you are. You need to be vocal about the value that you carry. Think of it like this. If I don't put myself, the way I tell people is if I don't put myself out there, how do I make money? Not like you cannot make money from not putting yourself out there, but then how will people get to know about you? Social media is the easiest way now by which people can get to know another person, right? And I'm sure this happens in our lives too. Somebody walks up to you and is like, oh, I am a chef. I do this. What's the first thing you ask of when they tell you about who they are? You ask them, send me a link to your Instagram page, send me a link to your social media page, right? That's what we do. But then we ourselves are refusing to put ourselves out online. So another assignment that I'm giving us on this call is that if you have not begun putting yourself out there online, please make it a point of duty to put yourself out online. I'm going to give us actionable steps on how to do that as we move on. Now, you are being vocal about your skills. You are being vocal about your expertise, companies that you work with, people that you interact with. Let me give us another assignment. There's something that I do that I really love so much that helps me to put myself out there online consistently. And that thing is writing every day. I write every day, even with how busy I am. I have not put out the content in a very long time because I've been so swamped with work and a lot of events, but I write every day. Now, what do I write about? I write about my skills. I write about my expertise, my talent, interaction with people. And those things help in crafting my personal brand. For example, I'm going to write about this event. I'm going to write about, in fact, the way it was coming to my mind was about building capacity. So I mentioned earlier that I have been so stressed, like a lot of people have no idea. I broke down, I had to go and take injections just to come back, on my feet because I mean, with the amount of work I have, I'm not supposed to be breaking down. So I told myself I was going to write about building capacity because I mean, there's a lot to be done. And I would look for a way to combine it with, okay, moving houses. I'll look for a way to combine it with the events that I was a part of and then hopping on this call, trying to prepare my slides before now, all of those things, how I felt. Now, when people read the story, what they think of is, oh my God, Suzan, she's such a value-driven person. She's such an intentional person. Your personal brand, the perception that people have about you comes from those tiny little things that you do every day. You are taking a course on Coursera. Don't keep quiet about it. Now, okay, from the agenda, I mentioned that I was going to tell you my story. I think this is the right time to tell you my story. I used to work a 9 to 5. I used to work in project management and construction, and I was not earning so much at all. I was so broke and tired of what I was earning at the time. This was 3 years ago, and about 3 or 4 years ago. And after I got tired with this job, I got tired with the fact that I'll sit down, in a vehicle, get to work for somebody on something that I don't enjoy, and then I wasn't earning so much, and then come back home exhausted. I had no other life apart from work. I just got tired. And I started to ask questions. People who are billionaires, people who are making impact, who are inventing things, do they have two heads? They don't have two heads. They are human beings like I am. So why can't I do things like that? And it led me to go online to search for the top 10 most sought after skills in the world. That was my first step after prayer. I went online and I searched for the top 10 most sought after skills in the world. And I saw a couple. I saw machine language, I saw copywriting, data analysis, a ton of things like that. I tried machine language and I was like, it's like this one is very hard. And then I left it and went to digital marketing. And now, when you are learning digital marketing, they're going to teach you copywriting, social media marketing, content marketing, things like that. Now, immediately I started making that search, the top 10 most sought after skills in the world. Do you know what I did? I went to my WhatsApp status and I typed and said, I'm just sitting down in my chair on this random afternoon and searching what are the top 10 most sought after skills in the world. That's just a random thing that I put on my WhatsApp status. But that status alone has crafted something in the mind of somebody who saw it that day. Because not everybody will go online to go and search for the top 10 most sought after skills in the world. I mean, why are you searching for it? A lot of people are consumed with what they are going through. They are consumed with complaining. They are consumed with, oh, Tinubu did this, Tinubu did that, Nigeria is this, Nigeria is that they are not even thinking solution. So for me to have done that at that time, and then put it on my WhatsApp status, I have let people know how my brain is thinking. That's why sometimes I don't blame people who are so vocal on social media. They are crafting a perception in your mind. A lot of them are doing that intentionally. You are the one who is feeling, oh, this person is talking too much. No, when opportunities come, people will reach out to them first because why? They are top of mind, right? Okay, so let me move on with the story. I started to take the course and then I would go on my WhatsApp status and then say, or on my Instagram story, I had not started my professional Instagram or social media accounts at the time. So I'll go on my story and say, I am taking so and so course. This is what I learned today. The next day, I'll take a picture, I'll post on my story and say, this is what I learned today. And while I was taking that course, a church member reached out to me and said, oh, Suzan, I saw you taking this. I saw that you posted about this course on your WhatsApp status. Are you open to doing this for me? Are you open to, at the time he said, are you open to running ads for me for a client? So he's a photographer and he had a client that needed somebody to help run ads. So he brought me on board and guess what? Before then, he did not consider me as that kind of person. I can show you my DMs with how people are saying, oh, Suzan, I have this job. When you craft your personal brand intentionally, jobs will not be a problem. I promise you. You will be tired of the jobs, literally. You'll be tired of the jobs, especially when you are vocal about it. You'll be so tired of the jobs, right? So don't hide. Don't be in your shell. The world needs to hear you. The world needs to know you. And besides, there are a lot of junk content out there that people, I always say this thing, people who are smart, we don't have a lot of people who are smart. We don't have a lot of people who are intelligent voicing out online. We have the more garbage thinkers talking online. And that's why it seems like, oh, social media is saturated with bad things. You, who God has put the good thing inside of you, why are you not talking? Why are you not talking? I think it was Mrs. Raquel some time ago. She posted about, her books, and someone said, we are grateful for, she posted, I think it was a screenshot of a WhatsApp message where somebody was being appreciative of the fact that she was being intentional in writing these books, because we have a lot of books out there, teaching children about what they shouldn't be teaching children about, right? But then what we need to do is to write more books to saturate the market so that the ones that we have written, we overpower the bad ones as much as possible. But we are not writing. We are leaving the other side of the world to do the work. So back to what I was saying, your personal brand revolves around your skills and then being vocal about it. It revolves around your expertise. What are you working on? Right? What are you working on currently? What are the ideas that are popping up in your mind? Write something about it and put it out there online. An actionable or a practical way to go about it, like I mentioned, is to ensure that you write every day. Now, writing every day is a very difficult task, but it is doable. Over time, you build the expertise. Over time, you will build the consistency, right? And if imagine that you're able to write every day, and that single thing that you wrote, probably a not so long content, and then every day you are posting on Facebook, every day you are posting on LinkedIn. After 6 months, if you look back, you'll be amazed at how far you have come. I mean, what it's going to do is it is going to improve your writing skills, which means you can begin to take writing jobs, right? It is going to improve your visibility, which means you have the potential to make more money. You have the potential to access more job opportunities, right? It will build your personal brand, meaning people's perception of you will begin to shaping up. Anyway, I need to move fast. Now, you need to also talk about your talents, right? Gifts that God has blessed you with. One gift that God has blessed me with that I love so much is the ability to stay in isolation and just introspect, think deeply within. I can be in a room and just sit and think deeply with the whole noise happening in the world and all of those. I don't know how to explain, but there's this form of depth when I want to think. I can craft pictures in my mind. I write about things like that and I put it out there on social media. And some time ago, one woman reached out to me and said, Susan, can you write a movie script? And I'm like, Egbami, movie script ke. Have we reached there? But why did she think that I could do that? Because of what I wrote on social media, right? So write about your talents, write about your gifts, write about your interests. One thing that I am super interested in are books. You will always catch me talking about books that I am reading. I want to go book shopping. I want to buy a book. And you know that people's perception about people who like books is that they are smart, whether they are smart or not. People just assume that if you always talk about books, you are smart. And that means they will recommend you to more job opportunities because they assume that you are smart. Remember that now they have not even confirmed if you have the expertise. Just because you have talked about your interests, assuming that your interest is an interest that should be an interest, right? Because you have decided to talk about your interest, people will just begin to recommend you for opportunities. Your experience, what are the things that you have worked on? I mentioned that earlier. And it doesn't have to all be positive experiences. It could be negative experiences, right? But whenever you are talking about a negative experience, always close it or try as much as possible to close it with a lesson learned. Because I mean, you tell people about a negative experience and they're like, okay, so what's our business with this? So try to close it with a lesson learned. It means that you have learned from that negative experience, even if it is a positive experience. What's a lesson that you learned? What do you want your audience to take out from it? I have dwelled a lot on this slide. I'll just move on to the next. Okay. Now, the effects of personal branding on career growth. First off, it builds credibility and authority. Imagine that you are a fashion designer, for example, and you decide every single day to write a piece. It doesn't have to be long. Let's say 200 words, 300 words, 500 words, but you decide to write a piece every single day. Something that happened in your day about fashion designing, about ideating or ideation, brainstorming, your social media presence, how you're developing yourself personally, something, just write about your day. And then you put it out on social media every day. On LinkedIn, you put it out there. On Facebook, you put it out there. On Instagram, you design it as like a carousel, maybe a tweet carousel or something like that, and you put it out there on social media. People now begin to see you like an authority in that field that you always talk about. right? Whenever people around me, a lot of people around me, when it comes to personal branding, they see me like someone who is an expert because that's what I'm always talking about. It builds credibility. People begin to trust you. They begin to feel like they can ask questions. A lot of people will enter into my DMs and they're like, oh, Suzan, about my social media presence, this. Oh, Suzan, how do I do this? I get a lot of those questions. Why? It's not as if they've come to my house to see maybe cash or something. No. What the thing that influences or that is making them have that perception about me is the fact that I am just constantly putting myself out there, intentionally crafting my brand. And when I say intentionally, remember I mentioned earlier, it boils down to your outfits, it boils down to the way you speak, the choice of words, the stuff you contribute to online. It boils down to the kind of content you put out online. Then before, your logo, your colors, the way you organize your social media profile, things like that. So when people now look at all of these things, they now say, okay, we can trust Shola. Okay, we can trust Lillian. Okay, we can trust so and so person. This person is an authority in the field. Whenever somebody reaches out to them and be like, oh, I have an event and I want somebody to speak on this topic, because you have constantly contributed your voice to that topic, they see you as an authority in that topic or in that industry, and then they begin to recommend you. The second thing is that it attracts a network of opportunities. Like I mentioned earlier, you would be amazed at how many DMs I get just for the sake of putting yourself out on social media. A lot of this do I call them influencers, or let me say people who intentionally put themselves out online. You'll be amazed that, people have problems and they are looking for people to solve these problems for them, but they don't know who to reach out to, right? And then you put out you put out something on your WhatsApp status that just subtly reflects that you have the solution to this problem. They will reach out to you. Remember, I think it was Opeyemi that mentioned that money flows to value. Once people know that you give them value, they will pay you. They will pay you. Yesterday, I hopped on a call with a client, and then we were negotiating prices and all of that. And I mentioned the particular price, and then they screamed. They were like, no, this price is too much and all of that. And then they were like, let's bring, and then they brought it down by like $100. And then I told the person, I said, no. And he was like, wait, are you serious? The person on the other end of the camera had to turn on his camera. He was like, wait, are you really serious? You are going to say no? I said, yes, it is this amount or nothing. And he was like, wow. He said, okay, we'll get back to you. Do you think I would have the confidence to do this? Because I know that I have built my personal brand in a way that I can offer the value to you. I have the solution. So all you need to do is to go and provide the money. If you don't have the money now, come back, or go and save up. When you have the money, come back and come and pay me for it. Right? So building your personal brand attracts a network of opportunities. I mean, you are posting on your WhatsApp status, talking about this thing, or this specific aspect of your life, this specific aspect of your personal brand. You are posting about it on your WhatsApp status, you're posting about it on Instagram. People begin to see you like that. So whenever there are problems within that industry, they perceive you as the solution. They perceive you as the solution. And social media makes it easier now. People on social media are talking. They would ask, they have friends, and then they're asking, oh, I have this problem. Who do you think I can reach out to? And then they tell you, have you reached out to so and so person, this person on social media? We have done that ourselves too. Immediate family members having certain problems, maybe problems with crafting a CV, problems with anything. And you'll be like, have you checked out this person on social media? Now you are recommending someone who has intentionally crafted their own personal brand online. Now, another effect of personal branding on your career growth is that it accelerates your career. So look at it like this. Even if you are a 9-to-5er, a lot of times I speak to people who are remote workers, but let's assume that you are a 9-to-5er, and then say you are a secretary, for example, and then you choose every single day of your life to write about your encounters with your boss, what you learned, your your encounters on your way to work, how you handled issues. Those are the kind of things people will be perceiving from those stories that you're putting out online, right? And then your boss, like Mrs. Eniola mentioned the other time, she said she wonders why we are blocking ourselves. Not me anyway, but I want to believe that those kind of people are not here. You are blocking your WhatsApp status, or you're blocking your boss from seeing your WhatsApp status. If you craft your personal brand intentionally, you will want your boss to see your WhatsApp status. I mean, the fact that you even write on social media, or you write on your WhatsApp status in a very constructive way, you're not just posting things that do not make, quote unquote, any sense. You would want your boss to see it. And your boss is, looking at these things and he's thinking, oh my God, I have such a resourceful person in my office. Whenever there are opportunities, do you know who they'll think about first? You. So you see what personal branding does to your career growth, and that is how people climb up the career ladder. Let's look at a prime example. I don't know how many of us know I think she works with Transcorp, Mrs. Dupe Olushola. I'd like to hear us. A lot of us know Mrs. Dupe Olushola, right? I'd like to hear us.
She's my mentor, my mentor.
Done. Okay. Now you'll be amazed at, I mean, from the outside world, those of us who are outside here we can just want to think about how much money she already makes from working with Transcorp. But she's not saying, oh, because I'm making so and so amount of money from Transcorp, I'm not doing social media. She's actively putting herself out on social media. She's talking about profits they have made. She's talking about the role she played, and then she's making you see her in a particular light. A lot of us, when we go on her page, we're like, oh my God, this is who I want to be in life. I want to be this hot. I also want to be this valuable. Why? She's doing that intentionally by sharing her stories, by sharing her experiences, sharing her skills, sharing the things that she's working on. And then there is you who is saying you are not a social media person. But I know that there's nobody like that on this call. Okay, so next is crafting your personal brand intentionally helps you to earn, gives you a potential to earn, higher. Now, I always tell people this thing, that because you intentionally write, you talk about valuable things online, people will just automatically assume that you have sense. In fact, it amazes me how much people assume I have sense. I have had to ask people, wait, you are bringing this kind of life problem to me. Why do you trust me with this kind of information? Why do you trust that I would give you, people have asked me questions, and then when I give like an advice, they'll say, okay, Suzan, I'm going to do this. And then they come back after maybe a few weeks or a few months to say, oh, Suzan, do you remember what you told me the other time? I did it. And I'm like, wait, you went with that advice. Like, this is a decision that will significantly change your life in either a positive or, negative. It will change your life anyway. And then you run with it. You trust me that much with your life. Why? They just assume that because I post a certain type of content on social media, they can trust me. And then because they feel like they can trust me, they are willing to give me their money. And it's the same thing that happens with every other person who intentionally puts themselves out online, or who intentionally crafts their online presence. So let me give you an example. Whenever I want to go book shopping, I will always post it on social media. Who wants to go book shopping? Even though I end up not going with people who indicate interest. So, but I always post it that I'm going book shopping on so day. Who is going book shopping? Who wants to come with me? Now, when I get to the bookstore, I'll make videos. Oh, these are the books I'm buying. I'll make videos of how much I spent on books. I usually do that intentionally because for so many reasons anyway. But one of the reasons is so that when you come to my DM to ask for a solution and I give you a pricing, you don't feel like I don't deserve it. Because you would have seen my WhatsApp status, for example, or somewhere, you would have seen somewhere on social media that I am actively spending money on courses, I'm actively spending money on books. So you will never assume that I'll do free jobs for you. People don't even assume that. So that gives you a potential to earn higher. Crafting your personal brand, people just see you like this value-driven person who is investing heavy amounts of money into themselves, and then they feel like they should pay you. In fact, when family members reach out to me for jobs, what they ask for is discounts. They hardly ever ask for free jobs. Why? Because of the way I have crafted it. I am showing you that I'm spending money. I am showing you I'm taking courses. I'm showing you, oh, I spent this amount of money on data. Oh my God, data is so expensive, but we have to do this. That's why when influencers do unboxing video, they're not just doing unboxing video because they want you to see the setting of their rooms. No, they are doing unboxing video to show you how much they spent on those things, so that when you are entering their DM, you're not coming to them to ask, oh, can you do it for free? No. Right? So crafting your personal brand gives you an opportunity to earn higher than what you currently earn. And imagine, let's look at the scenario of a 9 to 5, for example. The other scenario I mentioned with your boss seeing what you put out there intentionally and perceiving you as a valuable person. When you go and ask for salary increment, they will not send you a mail to say, okay, no, we don't have money. They'll be willing to, right? Or then they'll be willing to negotiate terms with you. Let's move forward. Okay. Now, okay, I love this so much. Another effect of personal branding on career growth is that it gives you more control over your career path. Now, I would also use myself as an example. When I started out as a social media manager, because I feel like that's the lowest barrier. That's the lowest barrier to entry in this whole digital space. So I started out as a social media manager. I was managing accounts for clients. But you know, if you have been putting yourself out on social media, if you are a social media manager or doing something related to that, you will know that as a social media manager, you will learn a lot of things. You will learn graphic design. You will learn video, a little bit of video editing, content marketing. You will learn social media marketing, inbound marketing, everything. You'll just be learning. You will learn copywriting. And now, since after I entered as a social media manager, I now sat down to ask, okay, do I really want to be a social media manager? What do I really want to do in my life? But because now I mentioned 7 skills, right? Because I have learned 7 skills just by putting myself out there, just by intentionally crafting my personal brand, it gave me choice. So I sat down to say, oh no, I don't want to be a social media manager anymore. I think I'll now begin to go for community management. And then I moved. I started to build a career path, right? I started to build a career path for myself. It gave me more control. And in Nigeria here, a lot of business owners in Nigeria do not pay social media managers, so well. I told myself, oh no, this is not what I want to do. I think people earn a lot more from writing. People earn a lot more from being ghostwriters, from being copywriters and all of that. So it gave me that liberty to choose my career paths. It gave me the liberty to choose the people I want to work with. So when people come and they say, oh, Suzan, please, we need you to manage the social media page for us. And I'm like, oh no, I don't do that anymore. Why? Because crafting my personal brand has given me the liberty to learn so many other skills that I am now able to choose what I want to do. Right? So it gives you, and even as a 9 to 5, it gives you options. It gives you a choice. As a 9 to 5, crafting your personal brand, you are open to freelance gigs. You are open to taking on other gigs outside your 9 to 5 job. And then you are now presented with an opportunity to choose, okay, do I want to be a 9 to 5? Do I want to be a consultant? Do I want to be a freelancer? Do I want to be a remote worker? It gives you that control over the career path to choose. It also gives you access to mentorship and learning opportunities. Now, because you are a valuable person, people will generally just want to associate with you. And when you even reach out to somebody and say, please mentor me, they will hardly get to say no, right? Because they already see you, they perceive you as a person of value. I'm trying to move fast a little bit. It gives increased confidence. Imagine all of this you have, okay, let's go back to the aspect of writing daily and putting yourself out on social media. Let's say you have intentionally decided to write every day and put yourself out on social media, there's this fear of what will people say when I put my content out. Will they say, oh, there's typo? Will they say I'm not a good storyteller? Will they say, what is this? Now, over time, after intentionally putting yourself out there, writing every day, and building that consistency, you now begin to build confidence. For example, I have a mantra in putting myself out on social media. Whenever I'm putting content out on social media, the content is better out there than perfect in. So when somebody's trying to say, oh, Suzan, the content is not perfect, the content is not perfect, I have already posted. I'm not saying do mediocre job. I'm saying I always want to put myself out there because the consistency is more important for me than the perfection. Now, when you have consistently put yourself out, you now build confidence because probably in that 6 months of putting out content consistently, they have bashed you, they've dragged you on Twitter, somebody has countered something that you said on Instagram. So that fear of what will people say fades away. It fades out over time. And then you begin to build confidence in your skill. Imagine that you are a communication specialist, for example, talking about communications online consistently over time. It gives you confidence to even say, oh, I am a communication specialist. I can do this, 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 and this. And when other global brands are talking about things that they are doing in their industry, you are not shying away. You're not asking yourself, oh, the one I know, is it true or is it not true? You are confident enough to put yourself out there. You are confident enough to take on jobs because you know that you will deliver, right? You are confident enough to tell people that you can do this thing because you have crafted your personal brand. People have already seen you as value. Now, lastly, it gives you accelerated career progression. You move very, very quickly. I moved from being a social media manager. Let me make it as practical as possible. I moved from earning 30K as a social media manager to earning, let me mention, to earning $3,600 on a particular job. And guess what? I would have done more work on if I had handled a social media page, if I was still handling a social media page, I would have been doing more work. So what I'm trying to say is the one that is paying me higher now is less work. It's just more brain work, but less physical work or physical stress. Why? And I moved from that level to this level in 3 years. In just 3 years. Why? Because I am actively putting, if you check a lot of these influencers, check the pricing of or people who are actively crafting their personal brand online. Reach out to them this year for their pricing, their package, then reach out to them next year and you'll be amazed at the difference. Why? Because they are intentionally putting themselves out. They are showing you that they are value. So they are showing you that that the price for that value is increasing every day. So it gives you accelerated career progression. You can move from one skill set to the other in months. You can move from this skill set to the other in months. And the internet has made it easier these days. For you to move from being a social media manager to a copywriter can happen in less than 6 months, provided that you are consistent and you are determined. Anyway, so where do I go from here? We have said a lot of things about building your personal brand. We've said a lot of things about its intention, it's important, and all of that. Where do I go from here? First off, define the value that you are. What are you even made up of in the first place? What value can you offer? When people hear your name, what will they think of? Right? So I want you to sit down after this session and ask yourself, what are some things that I am good at? Use this template. Let me just go back for those who did not see this template. Use these templates to write out the value, everything about the value that you are made of. So write out skills. What skills do you have? Okay, I have copywriting skills. I have communication skills. I have social media skills. I have this skill, data analysis, write it out. Expertise, what are some of the places that you have Where are some of the places that you have worked? What are some of the projects that you have worked on? Write them out. Your talents, what are some great gifts that God has given you that others do not have? Or what are some things that when people reach out to you, they just say, it's like God just gave you this thing. You, when I remember you, this is all I think about. You're just so good at this thing. It's just like a gift to you. What are some of the questions that people always ask you in your DMs? One of the questions that people always ask me is, how can I monetize myself? So that shows something that I can craft my personal brand around. People are always asking, Susan, I like to do this, and this. How do I monetize it? What are your interests? Do you have interest in singing? Do you have interest in swimming? Do you have interest in sports? Write them out, right? Now, after writing those things out, look through them. Those things are some of the things that can form the value that you are. And that goes, it leads us to auditing your current brand. And by auditing your current brand, what I mean is, look at yourself. Look at that WhatsApp status that you just posted a few minutes ago or before this session. Are you proud of it? Go and scroll through your content on social media. Scroll down and ask yourself, okay, am I proud of this caption? Am I proud of this word that I used here? Am I proud of this language that I'm putting? Am I proud of the conversations that I'm contributing to on social media? If you are not, you now need to re-strategize and now tell yourself, okay, these are the conversations I want to contribute to. Write those conversations out. And whenever you see conversations that do not align with your personal brand, run away from them as much as you can. Now, if you have now audited your personal brand and you have seen that, oh, my personal brand is not something worth keeping, I need to ditch this personal brand and move on to something else. What you now need to do is to develop expertise and to skill up. So for example, you are a fashion designer, but you've not developed that skill. You like to write, but you've not developed the skill. Go online, search for courses on writing, listen to podcasts about writing, read books about writing, and skill up. When reading those things, when taking those courses, make sure you practice on your personal brand so that you can replicate it on someone else's personal brand. Now, the next is build an online presence. Like I mentioned at the beginning of our class, or at the beginning of our session, you can hardly differentiate your personal brand from your online presence. It goes hand in hand. Why? Because we are in the digital age. Everything is happening online these days. So don't tell yourself, I'm not a social media person. I'm not an online person. You don't necessarily have to be online every day, but you have to have an online presence. And the first way to go about it is to pick a name on social media and secure that name on all social media platforms. For example, Coca-Cola is Coca-Cola everywhere. And when I say securing your name on all social media platforms, I mean, don't be, Lillian, please permit me to use you as an example. So don't be Lillian 12345 on Instagram and be Lillian 6789 on Twitter. Your personal brand has to, when people search for you on Google, it should be the same name. I'm Run with Suzan everywhere. Instagram, LinkedIn, everywhere. Run with Suzan. Everybody knows me as Run with Suzan. So go on all social media platforms. Oh my God, go on all social media platforms and sorry, I did not realize that chats were dropping in the comments. Okay, so go on all social media platforms and make sure that your name aligns, right? When people search for you, you should bear the same name. Something happened last week. I mean, the event that I was a part of, it was a fashion show and a sales fair, and I was in charge of publicity and the vendors for the sales fair. So there was this particular vendor who secured a spot for the sales fair, and she entered two different names. When I say two different names, I mean the first name and surname for the first part was different from the first name and surname. And I asked, she said she's the same person. I said, how? It's just like you are Jennifer Smith and you are also Suzan Opeyemi. How? Pick one name that people can know you for. And so let people know you as Suzan Opeyemi everywhere. Let people know you as Suzan Opeyemi in the United States. Let people know you as Suzan Opeyemi in Nigeria. Let people know you as, pick a name. Be Coca-Cola is Coca-Cola everywhere. Coca-Cola is not Bolt on Twitter. So you build an online presence. Okay, another thing I would like to add to building an online presence is, I know that the world has gotten busy, extremely busy. A lot of people are working multiple jobs to be able to make ends meet. And so keeping up with an online presence is really tasking. What I recommend is for you to define what consistency means to you. And by that, I mean, don't say because Suzan is posting every day, you will post every day. No, some people have kids. Some people have, you know, multiple jobs. Some people need to wake up. I don't need to wake up by 4 a.m. to go to work. Some people need to wake up by 4 a.m., 3 a.m. to leave their houses. So our personal life circumstances are different, which means the way that we respond to these things will be different. But then in our specific lives, we can always find a way to define consistency. So let's say you're a very busy person, for example. Consistency to you can mean posting twice a week. Consistency to you can mean posting one long form content on your WhatsApp status, something that really, really makes sense once a week. I know someone who is a church member. He's not a social media person, but whenever I see his WhatsApp status, I am always wowed. I think he posts on WhatsApp probably once in 3 weeks. But you see that one post, oh my God, you will sit down and think about your life whenever he drops that post. That is consistency. He is posting that once in 3 weeks, but that particular content is holding so much weight that even if I don't see his content in 3 weeks, I mean, that I would have taken a whole lot already from him. So define what consistency means to you. Build an online presence, put out content, put yourself out there. Let people know about your skills. Let them know about your expertise. If you're a fashion designer, a customer comes to your store, your office today, write about it, put it out there. When people read it, they begin to craft a perception. The next you want to do, okay, share valuable content. I have also talked about that in the previous point. So a way to go about it also is to share content around the pain point of your target audience. If you're a fashion designer, who are you appealing to? Share content around their pain points. Vicky James does this a whole lot. You hear her, she'll make a piece and then she's trying to tell you the story behind the piece. Why? Because people who are within her audience are people that will be asked, oh, what's the story behind your piece, when they are on the red carpet? So can you see how she's intentionally telling you that she's fit for the job? Right? So craft stories around your experiences, around your expertise, the things that you are doing, and no story is too small. Don't look at it and say, oh, this is not such a big story to put out there. You are not to define that. The people who define it are your target audience. You'll be amazed that that little story that you put out there can change a person's life, can craft a perception that it can get you a job, it can get you a gig. And lastly, create a channel for payment. Now, I was so excited when Mrs. Eniola mentioned in the first definition of a personal brand about being paid. A lot of people put themselves out on social media. They want to earn money, but they don't create channels for payments, or they don't create channels for earning. I always tell people, the moment you begin to put your first content out online, create an avenue for somebody to reach out to you. Write an ebook. In fact, I think it was early this year. I saw an ebook that trended on Instagram, and it was how the title of the ebook was How to Make the Most of Your House Help as a career mom or something like that. When I saw that title, I was like, oh, more people are thinking, this is a problem already. And this is something that is so common. A lot of women are having issues with house help these days because a lot of people have become more greedy. And she said, this person wrote an ebook on how to make the most of your house help. It can be anything. 5 tips. If you're a fashion designer, I don't know why I keep using fashion designers. Maybe there are a lot of fashion designers here. If you're a fashion designer, 5 tips on how to pick the best fabric for heat season. Just something. Go online, do the research. I'm not saying plagiarize. Do not plagiarize. Based on your expertise and based on, the research that you have carried out. Put these things together. And that's another way to earn passively. There are so many times I'll just be at home. I have a lot of ebooks on my link in bio on Instagram. I'll just be at home. I'll just receive alerts. Oh, 5,000 naira here, 10,000 naira here, 15,000 naira here. On days that I have even forgotten that I have ebooks. Right? So create this channel. Another thing is, I mentioned at the beginning of our session that we should always remember that our paths will go brighter and brighter. So that means that you will always be your, sorry, that means that you would always find yourself in higher positions as the day go by. What if, for example, you just begin to put yourself out on social media and after a month, after a week, after 3 weeks, one content just goes viral and you don't have a means of earning money. You don't have a means of collecting money from people. What if it goes viral? It has happened to me severally. I think it was a few months ago, one of my content just went viral. I got about 80K views or 100 and something K views. You will be amazed to know how much I made from that content because people kept sending me DMs. People kept buying content from the link in my bio. So create something, a package. And it doesn't have to be something gigantic. It can be you recording, you have done the research. Let's say you pick a topic and then you have done the research and then you just record these videos and put it on Telegram. You don't even have to host it on any course selling platform. Just put it on Telegram. Link it to seller in a way that people can pay you. People just want the value. I have bought ebooks that people wrote on Google Doc. Google Doc, oh, the person did not design it. The person did not do anything special. The person just wrote it on Google Doc, just like writing on Microsoft Word and selling it. But the value did not even allow me to complain that, or the value did not even allow me to say, oh, why did this person do it on Google Docs? Right? So package that value that you are in a way that you can earn. Have a rate card. When people pick your brain, write down the things that people pick your brain on and craft it into a package. Call it a name. Something blueprints. The $1 million fashion designer templates. Call it a name and put a price on it. And people will be willing to pay you for it. And when you have done all of this, rinse and repeat. Do it over again. Keep going back. Keep checking that you are still value. Keep checking that you have the skill. Keep checking that your online presence is up to par, that your online presence is as efficient as it ought to be. Keep checking that you are skilling up, right? Don't stop. It's a consistent process. It's a consistent process. And remember, it is not a destination. You keep going every day. You keep getting better every day. And you will be amazed at how far your personal brand will grow. Thank you so, so much. Do we have any questions?
Thank you so much, Susan. Thank you for that amazing session. I mean, what was I expecting anyway? Thank
Thank
you.
you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, as you were talking, I was just remembering a lot of things. One major thing I remembered was, when I first started my Kayu Lady Ministry, I wanted to be doing stuff like conversations with Eniola Peters, but my nickname at that time was Coco, whatever you call it. So I was like, oh, I'll call it conversation. I was like, okay, so next 10 years, are you going to be Coco or you're going to be Eniola Peters? I'm like, okay. So like, whatever you want to do, just like you said, start now. Start with that name now.
Yeah.
Be consistent with that name now. Before, my name was Miss Coconi on Instagram, social media, and all that.
Oh.
Because I had a boyfriend that year that gave me Coco, so I stuck to the name because it just sounded cool. So
Yeah.
I changed that year. I think I was 2018. I changed all my handles to Eniola Peter. No, 2020. Yeah, I changed everything to Eniola Peter, just like you said. And there's no way you search for me now. You should just type in Ola Peters. I'm the first person to come out. And
Yeah.
then there was this day I had a very brief short session with a few ladies, and I said, when you Google yourself on YouTube, on Google, what do you see? Like, just write your name on Google. Everybody should do that.
Yeah.
I think if everybody does that, you would understand what Susan is talking about. When you write your name on Google now, your full name, what comes out, that is to show you the level of work you need to put in and the importance of personal branding. Because if you put my name now, you see Ready Set Talk, you see Caillou Lady, you see everything is intertwined. Do you understand? If you put Susan's name, you see literally this everything she does. You, when you put your own name, what do you see? Now, I'm just going to go straight. I think a few people have questions, but someone
Mhm.
asked a question while you were talking. She said that we have 9 to 5. How do we manage? We that we have a hectic 9 to 5. How do we balance all this? I know you touched it a bit by saying, or you define your consistency, but can you still touch that a little bit?
Okay, I'll do just that. When you were asking the question, when you were reading out the question, the first thing that came to my mind was building capacity. I understand that your 9 to 5 is hectic. First off, let's talk about building capacity. So I want you to see it like this. I want you to see it like God is sending you to the nations. And if he's going to give you wealth for the nations, if he's going to give you things to do for the nations, solutions for the nations, he needs to be sure that you can handle it. So what it means is that build capacity. And when building capacity, you can start with dumping things that are not priority, right? Let me put it like this. When I realized that I needed to do so much brain work, so much writing, I dumped mindless scrolling on social media. We do that a whole lot. You'll be amazed at how much energy scrolling randomly on social media takes from you. I mean, you get back from work as a 9 to 5. I'm not saying you do this, but I'm just using this as an example of something that a lot of 9 to 5ers do. I used to do it when I was a 9 to 5er. I'll get back home from work, and the first thing I'm doing is I dump all my bags. I'll just kneel down and I'm trying to catch up. I'll kneel down in front of my bed and I'm scrolling. I'm scrolling. That alone is sapping you of productive energy. So you cannot even, you'll be unable to merge other things, right? So dump anything that shouldn't be a part of your life. Now, that is one way to go about it. Another way to go about it is to, is to look within your schedule and find a little bit of time to do something. So let me give an example, even though you mentioned that you don't have the time. But I always like to tell people that you make time for what is important. Remember, I said make time. You don't have the time, but you have to make the time. So let me give you an example. With how exhausted I always get, I will always write. It doesn't matter if it is rubbish writing. It doesn't matter if it is writing that cannot go up tomorrow. I'll always write. So what I do is, what I started doing was, when I want to go to bed at night, I would start to write. But I realized that it wasn't productive, or I wasn't getting what I wanted because I was always very exhausted. So I now started to write early in the morning. So when I wake up in the morning, what I do is I read my Bible, I pray, and then I start writing. I write the things that come to my mind, and then I leave it there and continue with my day. So that's another way to go about it. Now, on your way to work, just pick out your phone on your note app. Just pen something. Now, what you need to do is, a way to go about it is to be mindful. A lot of us are engrossed with what is happening around us. If you're a 9 to 5, I mean, you are going to work, you're in the vehicle, you are engrossed with, for those of us who are living in Abuja, you're engrossed, if you are taking commercial vehicle, you're engrossed with embelembe, you're engrossed with the clothes the other person is putting on. Can you shut down internally a bit? And while you are in the vehicle, let it seem like you are not there. You are focusing on what needs to be done. So it means that you are killing two birds with one stone. You are commuting to the office and then you are trying to write. I don't know if this will work for Lagos people, because I heard that the life in Lagos is something else, but
It
I hope
actually
it
works
does.
for people in Lagos. It actually works more for people in Lagos because they spend more time on the road. So
Exactly.
that's 2 hours you will use it.
Yes.
Yeah.
In between works at the office, you are working on your laptop. Just find a way. Open Google Docs somewhere, minimize it a sentence or two. You'll be amazed. You know, they say little drops of water makes a mighty ocean. You'll be amazed at how far these tiny little drops will go. And in putting yourself out online, for someone who is a 9 to 5, it may be so difficult. Another thing you can do is to stick with easy to make content. So don't tell yourself, oh, I want to make 15 minutes long video. No, it's not necessary for now. Like I mentioned, just that write-up, start with LinkedIn, start with Facebook. It's already a write-up. You don't need to make any design. Start, and then but as you grow, you'll find ways to, fit other social media platforms in. I hope that answered the person.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does. Thank you very much. Amarachi, you're raising your hands. Please, can you go ahead? Do you have a question or something?
Yeah, a question. Hi, Nyola. Hi, Susan. Good evening.
Hi, Amarachi.
Good evening. Okay, so thank you very much for the session. Um, like you said, you always learn something new. You will think you've heard enough about personal branding until you now hear that you have to create a payment. And I think that's where I made a mistake. I mean, you just launch out, you're very zealous, you're just posting, and then you actually don't have a way to monetize this knowledge you're putting out there that people are actually finding very valuable. And so I guess that's where I'm going to do work. However, my question is, um, how do you separate it if you're trying to build a company and your own personal brand? You know this thing where if you're starting out, of course, you don't have funds yet, so you're the face of your own company, and so people go to your company page and they're just seeing only your face. Of course, you're the one who is doing the most of the work right now. Is that a good pathway to go, or officially from the day one, company's page separate, your own personal page separate, or do you just be your? I hope you get my question. Do you have
Yes, I do.
a company outfit, Susan?
No, I don't.
You don't. So you're the company yourself.
I'm the
You're the
company.
business.
I'm the business, yes.
Eh,
Okay,
okay.
so let me respond to that in the best way that I can. Um, First off, I always advise that whether you have a company outfit and then you are trying to launch out as a company, you do not, you ensure that you still put a personal brand out there. And I'm going to use these two brands as examples. Um, Elon Musk, as much as he has Tesla, is still active on Elon Musk. And if you check Elon Musk out on Twitter, on any social media platforms, you will notice that he has more engagement, more followers on Elon Musk than Tesla. And that's because people resonate better with personal brands, even though they buy from the companies. In fact, many people will buy from your company because your personal brand exists. For a lot of company brands, they feel like they don't see the need to humanize the brand, and they fail to realize that this is a major problem because people have moved from B2C, that's business to company, to B2P, to P2P, people to people. People are interacting with people these days. People want to see the face behind the brand. Now, to answer your question, you are going in the right path. Remember that as a company, you are evolving. I mean, you're on a path. So for now, you are a solopreneur or you are a quote unquote one-man business. It even allows people to support your company better because they can see the trajectory. They can see it's helping you build credibility because I mean, after some time, you employ one person and then the person becomes not the face of the brand, but the human behind the brand, right? And then they begin to see, oh, Amarachi is growing. She has grown from making this content herself. The fact that she can employ somebody means this company is generating money, means they are building credibility, means other people are paying them, means I can pay them, right? So
Mm.
you putting your face out there on the company brand is good enough, but there has to be a face. So you can put your face out there as the company brand. You can also put your face out there as the personal brand. You're on the right path. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, it did. It did. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you for that, Susan. I remember when I started Make Consult, that was 2017. I didn't want to put my face, and I think that's a lot of problems. That's a problem we have these days. I didn't want to put my face because I felt, what I know? Like, everybody will see my face and say, hey, so Enola is the owner of Mekons, or hey, what does she know? That was what was on my mind. Do you understand? And
Yes.
so it took me almost 3 years for me to finally, put my first picture on Consult's Instagram page that, okay, I own this business with my full chest. And thank God I have seen the results of owning up to what you do. And I remember last year when an international organization was going to approach us, and then they wanted us to do something for them. And what's it called? I just realized that this particular job they wanted me to do for them, I've not been posting about, and they asked for my social media handles and all that. And guess what I did? Before I gave them the website, I quickly went to my website guy. I said, "Guy, please help me quickly update this thing on the website and all that." Quickly, I said, "Oh, yeah, let's start having things on Instagram just to show." But then I realized that I could have done this thing a long time. It is important to just do it. Just do it. The girl was like, "Oh, is your website not ready?" I said, "No, it's having issues." Because if you have to quickly update the website, add pictures and all that just from today, I think you should go on with the fact that you should just start daily. Do
Yeah.
something that represents your brand. And then please, if your email address is babygirl@123, I think it's best time you go and create another. I mean, Susan, I think you even need to touch on that. All those funny email addresses, funny Instagram names, cutie Christine, I hope that's not your email address. But you get what I'm saying? Please just touch on that a little.
Yes. We can take cue from other personal brands who are doing amazingly well. I mean, um, your personal brand doesn't necessarily have to be your own name, your full name. It can be any other name, but something professional, right? You can't be, I mean, they've told us, I remember the first time somebody told me about this whole sexy, hot, something, something, something. I mean, no, imagine, see yourself as a global brand. Just imagine today that some international brand reached out to you and said, "Oh, we've seen you on social media, or we've heard about you from somewhere, and then please send us your email." Would you be proud of sending sexy whatever to them? You wouldn't be proud of that, right? And another thing is, if your emails or your social media name carries your name, for example, let me use Amarachi as an example. So we have Amarachi, I think this is Echendo, right?
Yes,
And
Yeah.
HND.
yes, and people stumble, it makes the name stick better, right? So Amarachi Echendu, and then there's a face to it on social media. They can easily identify. The idea is for you to be top of mind in people's heads. You want people to be constantly thinking about you in their sleep, whether you are there, because you're not going to be there to tell people that you have the skill. You're not going to be there to tell people that you can do the job, right? So if you are easily recognizable, it helps you, it goes a long way. It helps you further because, I mean, a lot of people imagine that someone in the United States, someone in Germany, just your name just crosses their mind, and then they search for you online, and then they are seeing hot lady 25. Okay, somebody said her first email was sweetie K 35. Another thing about this is that the name does not even stick. It is not easily, people will not easily remember the name. You want, but you know, I mean, your name is, everybody calls you your name. Everybody calls you Amarachi. Everybody, a lot of people know your surname, people you have gone to school with, people you have worked with. So it makes it stick better. So please, if you'd have names that are like Karen's own Sweetie K, or Karen's former email rather, sweetiek35@gmail.com, please go and create another email and change it. I want you to see yourself as, just assume that tomorrow a global brand is going to reach out to you. See yourself like that every single day. I think it will help you, with being intentional.
Yeah, so someone asked that, okay, she runs a business that does not have a face associated with the business, and they're about a year old and not doing badly. I don't understand what she means by not doing badly, but I'll leave that. So not having a face associated to the brand, is it a wrong move?
So let me give this, Karen, let me give you like an assignment. Now put a face to the brand and come back after 1 year and compare. You'd be amazed. I want you to go and look at brands, people or personal brands that have companies without their faces on it. Just go and check. Even the brands I'm going to be mentioning now, they even have faces, because a lot of us know, for example, that Elon Musk is the owner of Tesla. So even if we don't see a lot of Elon Musk's face on the Tesla brand, we already know, because he's even posting about Tesla on his own. Gary Vee, for example, we already know that he's the owner of Vena Media and things like that. But if you check brands that have faces, human faces, they tend to build trust better. People trust them because, I mean, I don't know what country you are joining in from, but let me speak for Nigerians. The first thing you are thinking about when you see a faceless brand, the first thing that comes to your mind is, hope they are not scam. Who will I hold? Right? But if you attach a
Right.
face to it,
Mhm.
people will better trust you. I mean, they know that if anything happens to their money, is to take a screenshot of your picture and start to look for you all over the nation, right? So it further builds credibility and trust. So put a face to it, come back after 1 year and compare the results after 1 year, you'll be amazed.
Yeah. And then, putting a face to the business also brings referrals. Like it opens you up to more referrals, because people you tend to people's emotions when they know, oh, is this fine girl that owns this brand. Even if it's just to talk to you. Why do you think those girls that sell land now, they do, all those ladies that sell land, they will do video, they will go
Yeah.
to this, let's take a tour of this building. Da, 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 da. They are selling something. They don't understand. Even if it's something else they are selling, I don't know. Okay, so does anybody have any other question? Do we still have any other question? I mean, we've stressed Susan enough, so please, is there any other question? Okay,
Can I ask?
I don't think you said what?
I said I had a question. I have a
No,
question
no,
rather.
no. Oh, okay. Yeah, please go ahead.
What's the power of your brand color? Is it really, does that thing really, all these branding people talking about font, color, logo, bobo, is that thing really powerful? Because I don't know whether
Okay.
I've bought anything because of font.
That was, in fact, this was the angle I was going to take. I personally don't think I have bought anything because of color. But then um company brands tend to attract people for the sake of their colors, right? Company brands tend to appeal to people for the sake of their colors. But for your personal brand, my advice is consider every other thing before color, because it is so easy to be stuck up on color that you are losing substance. Meanwhile, people will come to you first for the substance before the color. But then imagine that after you have the substance, you now intentionally put a color to whatever you put out there on social media. It's like adding icing to a cake. So the cake is the substance, and then the color is the icing. So before the color, make sure you have the substance, but you still need to, I mean, have those colors. But before the color, the substance.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
so
then
my
just to
last,
add to that, the introduction. Sorry, Amarty. Let me just add to that. The introduction
yes.
of colors was for identification. So if you
Mm.
see Coca-Cola, if you see red, you think Coca-Cola and Christmas. They are
Mm.
joined together. If you think green, you think money, which is related to bank. If
Is
you
it me?
think
You're breaking
what
anywhere.
other brand? Is it just Amarty? Can you all hear me?
I can hear you.
Susan, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes. So I'm saying, if you see green, you think of a bank. If you see red, you think of Coca-Cola. If you see blue, you think of peak milk. It's just another way of appealing to your mind that you don't forget them. That's the idea of colors. But
Mm.
colors now don't really, it's not as important as the brand you are bringing out. So color is not as important.
Okay, thank you
And
very
you
much,
wanted to
Eniola
say
and
something?
Susan. Yes, I heard you. Yes. So the final question, those early days when you started out and there wasn't any growth per se, and it looked like you were talking into thin air space, how did you, what was the motivating factor in your brain that was telling you, move, 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 just be going?
Okay, so my first motivating factor was, or were other people who have done it and then they were showing their evidences. First off, I just told myself, if
Mm,
these people could, and then they showed evidences. So I belonged to a particular community where we had a day where people had to share their wins. And then people will share, oh, I just made so and so amount of money today. And I'm like, oh my God, when will this be me? And to just give you some context, I did not make, I made my first online, I made the first money I made online was after 6 months of putting out content every single day. After 6 months, I made sure I kept that tab. You will you will definitely grow. It's almost certain. That's why sometimes when people say they are not social media people, it feels like social media growth feels like
it's
it's
frozen.
almost
Oh, is it me?
certain. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yeah.
Marachi, can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, so social media growth or personal brand growth is almost certain. Even if you are doing things wrongly, still keep moving forward. You will align. You know, you'd if you do it wrongly, you see better ways to do it. You come back, you re-strategize, you move out again. But beyond all of those, look at people who have done it and have succeeded and let that just motivate you. Remember also that this is the digital age. I mean, so we can't go back to the traditional age just because what you started was not working. Look at a lot of people who started YouTube channels a year ago, 2 years ago.
Mm,
Look at how far they have grown, right? And just if you don't have any other things to motivate you, maybe the money I mentioned should motivate you because it's true, right? So
mm.
just keep at it and you'll be amazed.
Thank you.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Yeah. Be consistent doing the right things. At the end of the day, it will work out. So thank you very much. I think that's all. That's all for today. Susan, I can't thank you enough. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being amazing as usual. Thank you for being
Thank you so
inspiring.
much.
Ladies, please, can we just drop our thank yous? Let's drop our thank yous in the chat box. Let's thank Susan for giving us so freely, of our wealth of knowledge and all that. And I promise you, we're going to take into action steps every assignment that you have given us, and you're going to see improvement. We're going to make you proud, Susan. Don't
You.
worry. I promise you that we are going to make you proud.
Thank you,
So
please.
thank you so much. Thank you. I don't want to keep you again, so you can continue
Thank you, ma'am.
with the movement and all. So thank you so much. All
Thank you,
right. I think
everyone.
yeah. Except you have a last word. If not, I'll say we can all leave. Do you have a last word?
Well, I would just okay. I think I should add this because I'm grateful for the community and I thank God that Mrs. Eniola is God driven. I believe that there's hardly anything that will grow without God. So you'll be amazed at um how much of God that you need. So what I mean by that is as it gets tough along the way. I'm not even going to lie to you. There are some days that I would shed tears anyway. Not now anymore anyway, but those times when I started, there are some days that I would shed tears and be like, oh my God, when will this thing blow up, quote and unquote, right? But whenever you hit any roadblock, just remember that God rewards the diligent hand. God rewards a consistent hand. So just take it to God in prayer, pray about it, and move forward. I beg you in God's name, don't stop. Don't stop. You would be amazed. Write down today's date and come back after a year of consistent work. You'll be so amazed at how much growth that you would have amassed. You'll be amazed.
We'll make you proud. I promise you.
Thank you so much,
All
ma'am.
right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. That brings us to the end of the informational session for the month of September. Wow. It's been a roller coaster from April. Every month we've done an informational session or the other, and I'm so excited that this next month, I know someone suggested us on the group that maybe we should have a 30 days challenge. I think we should do that so that the month of October will be for posting, and then we'll keep tabs on each other. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for being a part of the Women in Career Advancement Network. Thank you for listening to Suzan Opeyemi. Thank you for deciding to take into action everything she has said today. So, Susan, we look forward to having you for one of our physical meetings very soon. All right, ladies, have a fantastic evening. Tomorrow is Sunday. Yeah, I'll go and prepare for church and every other thing. Okay. Yeah, Susan, I'll send you the link to the community. Thank you very much. All righty, everyone, have a
Please, sorry to
fantastic
cut you. What
evening.
are the slides? Can we get her slides?
I'll confirm from Susan.
Okay.
I'll confirm. Yes. All right. So thank you. We will meet on our weekend group as usual. Have a fantastic night, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.